Hi, and welcome to another story presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button, and don't forget to smack the ass of that subscribe button as well. This will help with the YouTube's algorithm and will help promote the channel more. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Don't forget to check out the merch store. All links are listed below. Hope you had a fab Christmas and a happy new year everyone. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. I hate my new apartment. This fantastic story is written by Rose Black 2222, a wonderful author over on Reddit's NoSleep. There is an old saying, that is, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. However, desperation tends to cloud judgment, and I was desperate for a place of my own. Up until recently, I was still living with my parents. I couldn't take it anymore. It had been like that for over 2 years, but I was finally able to save up enough money to start looking for my own place. Searching for one was no easy task either. Places I looked up would be just out of my price range, or if I could afford them, they'd be in such dangerous areas they wouldn't even be worth it. The apartment I have is a nice enough area, and based on the picture I saw, it looked nice, but looks can be deceiving. To start, moving in was a pain in the ass. First off, I could only afford the moving truck for a single day. Secondly, I didn't have any help, since I'm an hour away from where my friends live, plus I didn't have the money to hire movers, and heavy lifting is not a strong suit of mine. Last of all, my apartment is on the top floor, which meant I had to haul furniture up 3 flights of stairs. The only saving grace I had was that I didn't have too much to carry. I had a bed, a desk, my chest of drawers and a TV. Oh, I also have my PC and a laptop, which were in my car. I was able to get a friend of mine to drive my car up to my new place, then drive him back. Then he drove me back to my place after I took back the rental truck. So all in all, moving in took about 4 hours. I would have used the elevator for my stuff, but it was too small. But at long last, I was moved in. I had a 4-bedroom, 2-bath apartment for only $200 a month, and an $800 deposit. I made sure to check out before buying, and it seemed fine. To be honest, I was stunned. The only odd thing was that the landlord didn't meet me directly. Instead, he had his representative named Tom that took my deposit money in his place. I had already let my bosses know that I was moving and got transferred to the stores in the area I moved to. Things were going great for the first month. The other tenants seemed to keep to themselves, but not being the most outgoing guy myself, I didn't pay them much attention. What I did pay attention to was how much money I had left over, now that I didn't have to give half my earnings to my parents for rent. And for one of my new managers was so impressed by how well I'm doing that she's actually considering promoting me, or giving me a raise at the very least, which means I hopefully won't need 2 part-time jobs for much longer. However, on the 29th of last month, things got weird and dangerous, and when I say that date, I mean right at the start of that date, like midnight on Saturday going into Sunday. I tend to stay up late, but by 1 AM I figured it was time for bed. I changed into my pyjamas, which was actually just a shirt and some jogging shorts. Then I proceeded to brush my teeth. I didn't notice anything unusual at first, until I spat into my sink, and I looked back into the mirror and I saw that my reflection was still brushing its teeth. I looked down on my toothbrush, then back to my reflection. "What the fuck?" I cried out, dropping my toothbrush. Now, my reflection was smiling at me, and it looked like it was starting to reach for me. I didn't wait for it. I got out of the bathroom, then slammed the door behind me. I tried to rationalize it as a hallucination brought on by lack of sleep and stress, though I'd never experienced hallucinations before. Still, I did not want to go back into the bathroom to confirm this. I was about to turn out the lights and head straight to bed, when I noticed movement out of my peripheral vision. I turned to see my shadow on the wall, waving at me, as if trying to get my attention, and pointing. It was at this point I considered that I was either dreaming or one of the drinks I had earlier was spiked. But I followed where my shadow was pointing, which was behind me. On the wall I saw another moving shadow, but this one was formless. There was nothing nearby whose shadow could have cast that kind of shape, and I use the word shape very loosely. It began to stretch until coming into shape, which I can only describe as looking like a cross between a mantis and a scorpion. It raced down the wall to the floor. I instinctively leapt back as it came towards me, but it wasn't after me. It was after my shadow. My shadow gave a gesture like it had let out a shriek. Then it began to run. It was at that moment that I heard the sound of my bathroom door being opened from the inside. I swung around, expecting to see that doppelganger which was posing as my reflection. And I sort of did. By that I mean what came out my bathroom had my face and torso, but those were the only similarities it had to me. It had 8 legs to scurry on, matching the legs of the shadow. It also had 1 pair of mantis claws and a pair of scorpion claws in place of regular arms. The set of scorpion claws were at the middle of the torso, while the mantis claws were where regular arms should have been. It let out a hiss, then started towards me. I ran like hell towards my front door. I got about halfway until I felt a searing pain across my back. At first I thought the doppelganger had caught up to me, but I saw that it wasn't anywhere near me. Instead, I noticed the shadow to my right. The other shadow was still chasing mine. It swiped at my shadow's back with its stinger, and that caused more pain in my back. I nearly fell to the floor because of it. The doppelganger must have been curious as well, because it stopped its pursuit of me to watch what would happen with the shadows. Now my shadow was facing the other and raising its hands to shield itself. The other shadow slashed with one of its claws, and I felt a sharp pain across my left palm. I looked at it to see that there was now a deep gash across the centre. That's when I realised if my shadow went, so did I. This did not put me in a good position. As my shadow was being cornered, and I still had to deal with the monstrosity standing in front of me, I had to think fast. I scanned the room for anything I could use as a weapon. Then my eyes fell on the pocket knife. It was by the boxes I had used to pack my clothes. The doppelganger noticed me looking at it. Then we both dashed towards it. Lucky for me, the doppelganger's bulky body put it in a huge disadvantage. It let out a hiss of pain due to the fact it bumped one of its back legs on a corner. I dove for the knife, then picked it up, before scrambling to my feet. By this point, several new cuts had formed on my arms from the other shadow attacking mine. I had a theory that I was hoping would be true, and I checked on the shadows again to see if I was right. It turned out I was. My shadow was now holding a knife as well. Both the doppelganger and the other shadows looked down at the knives we held. Then they began to laugh at the same time. Admittedly, I could see why they laughed. With their armoured skin and much bigger and longer means of attack, the knives weren't a real threat to them. That made me wonder why I was trying to stop them from getting it in the first place. Did it just do that for fun? Then I got an idea. I had a pocket flashlight sitting on top of the boxes. I use it at work in case I need to check out something at night where the streetlights can't reach. The other shadow was rearing back on its hind legs and was about to deal a killing blow to my shadow when I grabbed the flashlight and switched the lights off. The moment I did, I heard scurrying. I switched the flashlight on while holding the knife in front of it. In the light of the flashlight, I could see the doppelganger again. I pointed my flashlight while holding the pocket knife in front of it at the wall where the fighting shadows were. Once again, my theory was proven correct. The pocket knife my shadow had now was giant. It was practically the size of a broadsword. Now the other shadow hesitated, then started to turn to run. My shadow darted after it, The doppelganger dashed towards me while letting out a head-splitting shriek. I wanted to cover my ears, but I knew I had to hold on to the flashlight and knife no matter what. I could only hope that my shadow was faster than the doppelganger, and it was. Right before it could cut me with its claws or pierce me with its stinger, it let out another shriek, this time of pain. Checking the shadows again showed me that mine had sunk the giant pocket knife into the other's back. It kept stabbing repeatedly. This made the doppelganger fall over. After about 2 minutes, my shadow pulled the knife out of the other shadow's back. It seemed to be trying to catch its breath. It looked at me, then gave me a nod. I knew what it wanted me to do. I went over to the doppelganger, who was still alive but couldn't do much beyond give me a weak hiss. I plunged the pocket knife into a small crack it had in its armoured skin. This caused the blade to pierce its neck. Its eyes bulged when I did. Then it began to writhe as I dragged the blade across its throat. I got my last peculiarity of the night when I did it. I thought blood would squirt out from the wound I made. Instead, what came out was what I can only call black steam. I would call it smoke, but it didn't cause me to cough, and my shirt became slightly damp when it touched it. This irritated me because I'd only just got the clothes I was wearing out of the dryer only 2 hours ago. On top of that, I had to find to do with the thing's body. Fortunately, my shadow took care of it. I didn't realise my shadow also had a flashlight. It turned on, causing a black beam to hit the now still other shadow. As it did, I saw that parts on the doppelganger's body had vanished. When the beam completely engulfed the other shadows, the doppelganger's body was gone. My shadow pointed with its knife towards the light switch, then made a motion like it wanted me to flick it on, then back off quickly. When I did, my shadow turned off its other flashlight, and I saw that the other shadow was gone. I went over to where the doppelganger's body was to make sure it hadn't just turned invisible or something, but poking at the air with my knife showed me that it too was gone. When I confirmed this, I pocketed my knife and flashlight, then faced my shadow again. It gave me a double thumbs up. "How did you do that?" I asked it softly while pointing to the spot the doppelganger's body once was. My shadow just shrugged in response. Then I ran out my front door and headed straight to the ER. I made up some story about me accidentally falling and cutting myself on some broken beer bottles outside. Once I was stitched up and bandaged up, I went home with an expensive medical bill. I don't have insurance with my jobs. Hopefully that changes soon. Now, I was apprehensive to say the least when it came to going back inside my apartment. I sat in my car parked in front of the building. I was trying to convince myself that what I saw had been an hallucination or a dream, but I remembered I tried that when I saw my reflection was still brushing its teeth, and that hadn't turned out well. Eventually, I decided to sleep in my car. I decided that if I woke up with my injuries, I would prove that everything really did happen. I'm referring to my back wounds specifically, since I didn't have any way to make those shaped cuts myself. I woke up the next day, then felt my back. Sure enough, I found the bandages covering my cuts. Fuck! So it was real, I thought. Now, I was debating whether or not to go back in. I didn't have anywhere else to go, plus I needed to get ready for work. It took some mental preparation, but I managed to talk myself into going back in. When I got back to my apartment, I saw that everything looked fine, but not ordinary, because my shadow waved to me when I stepped inside. "Any monsters come through here?" I asked it. I don't know why I thought it would know anyway, since it hadn't been in the apartment either, but it just shook its head. I got ready faster than I ever have before, then opened the door to head to work. When I did, I saw 3 men in black coats walk by my door leading a goat by a leash. The goat turned to me, then started to bleat, which is apparently what the sound a goat makes is called, before the man holding him tugged on his leash, then told him to come on. The ghost still looked at me as if reluctantly followed. Then he turned his head back forward when he reached the elevator. By then I was standing out in the hallway. I could have sworn that I saw him wink at me before the elevator door closed. This place is nuts. But at least that goat is cute, I thought. Then I went to work. When I got off my shift, I decided that I was going to give the landlord, or Tom, a piece of my mind. But I haven't been able to get in touch with either of them yet. And I realised something. Right now it's Saturday, and I'm at a friend's house in the area I moved from. The weird and dangerous shit happened early, almost a month ago. So I'm thinking that if I just stay out of my apartment until the day after it happened, I'd be able to avoid any danger from it. Assuming it happens on a monthly basis, because up until the first incident, nothing to suggest I would be any danger happened for over 4 weeks. And you can bet your asses that I'm going to demand my deposit money back. Then move out of this apartment as soon as possible. I'll probably have to move back in with my parents, but at least it's better than getting murdered. I'll post another update soon to let you all know how things went. For now, I need to wind down, then get some shut-eye. Later, everyone. Wow, that was an epic first episode. If you enjoyed listening to this installment, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile, RoseBlack2222, and drop them a line and tell them what you think of their story. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Be sure to also check out their Patreon for even more stories. The link to their Patreon will also be below. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed my narration, then please feel free to like and share the video, leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Have you had any cryptic sightings, paranormal or supernatural encounters, or even had a creepy or terrifying situation you would like to share? Have you written a CreepyPasta story you would like me to narrate? You can submit all your stories to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's not a problem. I will honour your wishes. Now I also have a new Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit and Discord. Again, all my relevant links will be below. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Again, that'll also be listed below. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.